Hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Crayfish. I'm extremely excited for today and to share with you the updates in the crypto markets. Are your bags packed for the crypto market turnaround? Now, today we're going to talk about my massive unrealized losses in crypto. Hopefully makes you feel a little bit better about your losses. We are going to talk about the state of the market in this turnaround, and we're going to talk about recent CPI data and how all the metrics are looking for the imminent future. I really think we're looking super bullish from here, guys, and stick around for the video to find out. I am hoping I don't jinx the whole market by going positive. All right, let's start with a little update of my investments. You know, on this channel, I like to be extremely transparent with you all on what I have, what I've lost, what I've gained, and really letting you have that window into my personal finances so that you can feel that emotion. Hopefully, you all held fine through the massive volatility we've had in about the last month or so. It's been a pretty hard time with some pretty bleak outlooks for the stock market as a whole and crypto, of course. We took almost a 30% correction or 25% correction on Ethereum, and Bitcoin was somewhere around 14 to 15%. So I'm here to congratulate you if you've made it this far for having strong hands. A lot of people will talk about weak hands, especially if you're new in the markets. If you're still in, you have strong hands, y'all. You should be very proud and feel really good about where things are looking from here and having the conviction to really follow through on what the market cycles do continuously. I thought that going through my losses at the max end would make you all feel a little bit better about the worry and fear you felt, and hopefully give you something kind of funny to laugh at. So these are obviously unrealized losses I was holding. If anything, I was buying a little bit more at the low prices, but it doesn't change that I was seeing massive negative numbers in my account. And let's go through what those are. I've done the math already for you all. So my cost basis is 39.43 shares of ETH at an average of $24.42. This brings the total cost basis of 96,270. And at the weakest, which was 2 days ago now, ETH dropped down to a valuation of $16 per share. So at my 39.43 shares, my total cost was $63,088. And this, if I had liquidated, or at least what was showing up me in my accounts on my screen, was a loss of $33,182, or a percentage decrease of over 34% on this position, guys. And especially because this is a massive part of my net worth and accounts, this was a massive deal for me. You know, seeing a $30,000 plus loss in my accounts was extremely scary. And hopefully it makes you all feel like, okay, if he could do it, I could do it. We're still in. We're still feeling good, even though it was very scary for that short amount of time. And at the end of the day, you know, you can't predict the markets in the short term. We think we know what they're going to do in the long term or the medium term, but in the short term, you can get fear. You can get corrections in the S&P. You can get all these types of things. So let's talk now about the state of the market, because today things have totally flipped, guys. You'll see, you know, from this low we put in on Monday at almost 89K, we had a nice little recovery, and then today we've gone up another 3% on Bitcoin, 5.3% on ETH. Solana was doing quite well when I looked at it earlier. So let's just do a little state-of-the-art check-in with really what we're looking at for the crypto market at this point in time. I'm going to go out to a 1 month here. And my goal is to really show you all, maybe I'll go 3 months. That might be a little easier. And I'm going to show you this range we've been in, that crypto has really been, or at least Bitcoin has really been consolidating in. And it's consolidation range can be really bullish for the long term, as long as you don't get stopped out or scared, which actually happened to a bunch of traders. You'll see the bottom of this range was right here, guys, at 90K, and a ton of people put their stop losses just below 90K. And that's what this wick did. It liquidated all those long positions. I saw a stat that almost $750 million got liquidated out of retail traders on Monday alone. That's pretty major. That is a real bummer. And the reason, I'm much less focused on the trading side and much more focused on the longer term trends. So what does this mean for now? I'll put one more chart line on here because we're kind of at that line right now, and that's almost the 100K mark. You'll see there's kind of resistance at 100K, resistance at about 103, and then of course our all-time high resistance at 108.5. Now, do we have to break out imminently? No, not necessarily. But I think into next week with the Trump inauguration, I think it's likely we're going to start seeing a push through of these resistance and hopefully into all-time highs by maybe February or that type of time frame. Again, remember, it's also going to favor altcoins. So even if Bitcoin's not making all-time highs, Ethereum and some of the others might start doing very, very well. You might wonder why this move happened. If you didn't look at the data, the CPI came in pretty much in line with expectations. And that's really good news, y'all. We were pretty scared about the stock markets as a whole and just wondering about a black swan event. This looked pretty ugly the last month, guys. We got these kind of lower highs in place. You can see how, I'll draw a trend line for you all. You can see kind of how these lower highs have been developing. And it's been tough. This has been the high that we made in early December. And since then, it's really just been lower highs and lower lows. We went down, we kind of put in this double bottom. People were hopeful it was the bottom. And then we put in a lower low. And so really there was questions in my head, and I think a lot of people's heads, at whether we were going to go visit this range back down at 5,700 again, what we were looking at. Now, I don't think we're fully decided for a new stock market all-time high yet, but I do think that at this point it looks likely that we consolidate in this range rather than break down further imminently. So I think that's really a pro for the markets, guys, and I think that's going to stop weighing on crypto and allow crypto to really do its thing. Now, I think altcoin season is really likely kind of beginning now. Oftentimes you see that strength come into altcoins, especially Ethereum, in the second half of January. And you're seeing it right now. This is the Ethereum chart. We got this big liquidation spike. It had a similar kind of consolidation that Bitcoin had, but even more volatile. So you can see if I draw the charts here, you got one there, which we did liquidate below, again, just like the Bitcoin chart. We've got one there at about 3,700. And then, of course, we've got the 4,100 mark, which is really when we'll be off to the races if we break that. So arguably, there's also one right here at around 35.5 that we need to get through as well. So why do I say that Ethereum is clearly showing strength? Well, let's look at the ETHBTC chart, right? If you're new, this is Ethereum valued in Bitcoin. So it shows the Ethereum strength against Bitcoin. And we've discussed how in past videos, how a great way to choose an altcoin is to look for a double bottom on its Bitcoin pair. And what we just got, guys, was about as close to a double bottom as I think we're going to get. And you can see it if I zoom out here. This is pretty good as far as a double bottom goes. It went a little bit lower down to 3.2 on this date in November. But then this time it went to, really 3.26, which is close enough. In my eyes, I don't think it has to go lower. Is it possible? Sure. But I really think that was likely the bottom. Hopefully I'm not jinxing us here. And I think we really are coming out of the woods. I think we're looking really good. And you can see that in the last 5 days, this is a pretty strong move off the lows for ETHBTC, back into 0.034. And I think we're going to work on retesting really this 0.04 mark pretty soon here. You can see kind of we've been consolidating. You can almost draw a big wedge here, which helps you to get an idea. Yep. So heading back up towards that like 0.036 before we face some resistance, and then hopefully break out from there. It's looking like the floor is pretty solid where it's at. And again, it's easier to not worry about things when Bitcoin's going up, because even if the ETHBTC chart gets some sell-offs, your actual US dollar valuations are not going down, so it's not as scary. Potentially also you're seeing Bitcoin make a move for 100K right now as we speak. It's putting in some pretty strong price action right up towards there. And you can see kind of where it's been consolidating at for the day. We're coming at this all-time high of the day, which was 99,770. So we'll keep an eye on that as we kind of do this discussion. Now, what are our other things that we said are really necessary to see for altcoin season? And especially Ethereum, because that's what I'm mostly invested in. So the main things we need to see, right? We talked about ETHBTC looking stronger. The double bottom really makes me feel like we could have some strength, especially into the end of January. We're now in that really favorable time for Ethereum, which is between January and May. The other things we need to see are Bitcoin dominance rolling over to the downside, the US dollar rolling over to the downside, and treasury rates rolling over to the downside. So let's check in on all three of those things. First, we've got Bitcoin dominance. This has been on a little bit of a tear the last month or so, guys. And you can see, this chart. If we zoom out a long ways, you can see I've drawn this support line. And to give you an idea, let's just go to a 1 year. Yeah, this is helpful. You can see that, what was support for Bitcoin dominance broke, became resistance and looked really good right here. And that's when we talked about it. But then we got this fake out to the upside, guys. So December 20th, we were back above that trend line. We were back above that trend line on this Monday. And that's a lot of what's been really hitting altcoins hard. But now in the past few days, you've seen this really strong rejection, moving back below the trend line and getting some really solid downside price action on Bitcoin dominance. And that's super positive for altcoins, y'all. We want to see that continue. If we look at a monthly chart, right, this is helpful to see that it's been putting in lower highs. And so you can see, we had this high right around 60, and then right around 59.2, and now right around 58.7. And so it's looking pretty toppy, and like we could roll over here, and that's really positive for altcoins. Same thing with the US 10-year. This was a big worry. We talked about it in our video earlier this week. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. But we talked about the long-term price structure of the 10-year rate. This is the 10-year treasury yield, which is just helpful for telling where fear is at in the markets. We talked about the potential of retesting this 5% level and how that would be really quite scary for traditional assets as well as cryptos. And, we were prepared for that move if CPI came in hot today, but it didn't. And you've seen a really strong rejection off this level from the 10-year, which is super bullish for risk assets. Traditionally, when the 10-year turns around, that's super positive. And you can see that this line right here, it's actually broken back below with a really strong candle. So hopefully it's going to hold down this far. You can see it's down 2.9% on the day, which usually the 10-year is only moving, 0.5% on a day at the max. So it's really clear that what the market was super worried about, which is inflation reaccelerating, is not as much of a worry. Really, the it does look like the market as a whole is kind of nailing that soft landing, right? We're getting strong jobs that are the labor market's holding up and not breaking down, but at the same time, we're not getting massive acceleration of CPI, and we're still kind of fighting that inflation mode. All right, and the last one we talked about was the DXY, right? The dollar index. Traditionally, just in case you haven't seen this before, we can go back and point out how massive downtrends in the dollar are vital for altcoin season. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, let's go. Let me get a range. Let's go somewhere like 2013 to current. Great. So this is helpful. So our bull market years, right, or our post-halving years, which are when altcoin seasons happen, are 2025, 2021, 2017, and 2013. So let's just look at each of those years, and we'll do a little bit of a measured move to show you how the dollar rolling over was really key. So in 2013, we actually had a pretty strong move in the dollar into the beginning of the year, but it topped out around May, and that bull market topped out near the end of the year. And you can see, the US dollar index went down around 6.7% between that high and that low. And that's really what enabled that altcoin season to get kicked off. All right, now let's go to 2017. This one's even clearer on the chart. You can see it topped right around where we're at now, January. And it got a strong move of down 15% by February of 2018, so about a year later. And that whole time really started to help alts out as that DXY rolled over. All right, let's go to our next one, 2021. You can see 2021, we actually had rolled over before the post-halving year even started. So we got our high, really, you can go to this high, kind of mid-2020, the dollar was still pretty elevated. And then by early 2021, you saw the dollar down, more than 11% from those highs. And what does that mean? Well, that's likely why Ethereum was doing much better at that point in the cycle than this current year. So if you look at, Ethereum year-to-date ROI on our little handy-dandy tool here, I'm going to show hide, and then we're just going to look at 2017, which is what we were just talking about, versus, actually we can look at 2016 versus 2020 versus 2024. And you'll see this massive divergence here, right? So you just see it, 2020, 2024. I'm not sure, it's struggling to load. I'll just reload the page real quick. All right. Sorry, my laptop is starting to get a little bit old. If we do really well in our coins, maybe we'll have to buy a new one. All right, 2020, 2024 is what we're looking at, right? We just talked about how the dollar topped mid-2020, but definitely did not top mid-2024. And you can see this difference. Ethereum really shot up into the end of year in 2020, but in 2024, we're below that point, if anything. And that is likely because of the dollar, guys. So that's the impact it can really have on alts. We'll hop back over to our chart here. So you can see how this move down really started to help alts. And we haven't gotten that move yet, right? We've gotten this pretty strong dollar. But if this is the turnaround point, it's really going to kick off that seasonality for altcoins that's going to drive things much higher. If we get something like 2020 or 2021, we're going to look for about 11% decrease in the dollar down to, around 97. If we get something more like 2017, we could see like a 15% down all the way to 92. And this is just really important to know how this works. It allows you to kind of watch those macro trends and see how things are developing. Okay. So that's our little bit of a market update. We've talked about how we're likely looking really bullish into the inauguration. And if you're curious how Trump specifically is going to affect crypto, I just did a video on that earlier this week. So go check that out. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing my transparent losses, or I guess unrealized losses. And if you're curious to see more of that type of stuff, please let me know in the comments down below. I hope that your excitement is coming back. And I'm feeling really positive today. It feels really nice to just have a day that's solidly green in the markets. Feels really good. It feels like a lot of the worries that have been plaguing the markets as a whole, and me with over $30,000 down in my portfolio, have lifted a little bit today. And without jinxing us, I do think that that was likely the bottom on Monday. So hopefully we see this continued strength. Let's enjoy watching it, and maybe you'll see some fun rocket emojis or something if we want to pretend to be crypto bros at some point. Give me some rockets down in the comments if you are looking to mess around and feeling positive yourself. I will keep you all updated and talk to you soon.